Sales. We love sales, right? Sales for accountants. Couchpreneur sales. Hey, like and subscribe. Check us out at Universal Accounting Center. Sales framing for accountants, right? The most important sales skills that nobody teaches. I'm going to teach you here at this channel. I feel like sales, most people think sales is about questions. Sometimes they say, Nate, it's about rapport. It's about rapport. Others think, hey, it's about objection handling, Nathan. Some parts of that are true, but not all of it. You have to understand the highest paid advisors, consultants, attorneys, surgeons, salespeople, understand one thing. The person who controls the frame controls the decision, because human beings do not make decisions based on reality. They make decisions based on their interpretation of reality, and framing is the process of shaping that interpretation. Look, two accountants say the same exact thing. One hears, that sounds expensive, and the other hears, how soon can we get started? Okay. The difference is rarely the service. It's all about the frame. So that's what I'm going to teach you here today. Grab your pencil and paper. Let's go to lesson 1. Okay, write this down. Lesson 1. The human brain never sees reality. All right. This is where most sales training stops. Let's go deeper. Let's have some fun. Look, the human brain is a meaning-making machine. People don't react to facts. They react to meanings. For example, okay, let's say you charge $1,500 per month. Meaning 1. Well, that's expensive. Meaning number 2. That's cheap compared to tax mistakes I'm making. Same price, different meaning, different frame. The client's never buying your bookkeeping. They're buying what they believe bookkeeping means. They're never buying tax planning, okay? They're buying what tax planning means. They're never buying advisory. They're buying what advisory means. The entire sale becomes who assigns meaning first. Write that down. Who assigns meaning first? Got to get good at it. Let's go to lesson 2, all right? Guys, every prospect walks into the call with a frame already installed. Okay, what does that even mean? Let me tell you, this is where most accountants get destroyed, because the prospect already has beliefs. Okay, my CPA should be cheap. Bookkeeping is data entry. I can hire someone overseas. Accounting is compliance. I only need help during tax season. My current accounting is fine. Guys, these are not objections. These are all frames, okay? And every objection is born from a frame. Think about that. When someone says we can do it ourselves, they're operating from the frame, this work is simple. When someone says it's too expensive, they're operating from the frame, this won't create enough value. When someone says I need to think about it, they're operating from the frame, this isn't urgent. The objection is never the problem. The frame created the objection. Okay, elite salespeople attack the frame. Average salespeople fight the objection. You got to get good at it. All right, let's go to lesson 3. All right, write it down too. The diagnostic frame. The diagnostic frame. So for me, this is the moment the call begins. Okay, most accountants accidentally position themselves as vendors. Don't want to do that. Vendors get compared. Experts get hired. The first frame you need is the diagnostic frame. Look, doctors don't convince people. Doctors diagnose. Could you imagine a surgeon saying, can I tell you why my surgery is amazing? Well, that sounds ridiculous. Instead, they say, tell me what's happening. The prospect immediately enters patient mode. Well, you do the same, right? Instead of, let me tell you about our firm, why don't you say this? Well, Steve, walk me through what's happening in the business right now. Well, do you notice the difference where one is selling and one is diagnosing? So the moment you jump in and you see it from the doctor's perspective and you start diagnosing, the prospect stops evaluating you and starts evaluating themselves, and that's a massive shift. Almost forgot what I was going to say there. Lesson 4, the cost frame. Most accountants frame their service around price, okay? And you got to stop doing that. It's a huge mistake. The prospect is already doing that. Frame it around cost, not your cost, their cost. Most businesses have no idea what poor accounting is costing them. Let's say revenue, $1.2 million. You discover no cash flow forecasting, no tax planning, poor pricing, no advisory, and then margin leaks. Well, the question is, what do you think those problems cost annually? So you would say that to them. Hey, Ricky, what do you think those problems are costing you annually? Right? So what happens is their brain starts calculating losses. Maybe 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, maybe more. Now watch what's happening. Suddenly your $1,500 a month fee isn't competing against zero. It's competing against a six-figure problem. Now that's framing. Let's go to lesson 5, the opportunity frame. For me, most accountants, I feel like just getting to know all of you, and been doing this a while now, okay? One thing you hate is awkwardness, and you like to avoid pain and talking about it. Okay? Well, understand that elite advisors also frame opportunity. So people move away from pain, leaders move toward vision. I want you to ask, if everything went right over the next 3 years, where would you want this business to be? Now, you're no longer discussing bookkeeping, you're discussing the future. Maybe they say, I want to hit 3 million. I want freedom. I want to stop working weekends. I want to sell the company. Well, perfect. Now accounting becomes a bridge, okay? So instead of the junk that comes out of your mouth, we reconcile transactions, just reframe it. The frame becomes we help the infrastructure required to reach that future. Do you see the huge difference right there? You got to start doing things like that. All right, let's go to lesson 6. And if you're not writing this down, you're a fool. I'm just going to say that. All right, lesson 6, the time frame, okay? The time frame. Guys, for you're constantly losing, okay? You're constantly losing because you allow the prospect to believe they have unlimited time. That is the dumbest thing ever. We got to stop doing that. The brain delays everything that feels distant. Therefore, urgency must be framed. Not fake urgency, but real urgency. So what I would like you to ask is, what's the cost if nothing changes over the next 12 months? Now, what happens is their future becomes visible. Many prospects realize another year of poor reporting, another year of tax mistakes, another year of cash flow issues, another year stuck. Look, you're helping them see the timeline. Okay? And people buy when they understand delay has consequences. You need to write down, I have to make them see the consequences. Well, how do you do that? Through questions, and they reveal the consequences to themselves. Now, that's elite selling. All right, let's go to lesson 7. And it makes your life a lot easier. I'd rather have them sell themselves than me sell them. Selling isn't telling. All right, let's go to lesson 7. The comparison frame. This is one of the most powerful training tools in existence. People never evaluate something alone. They compare it to something. The question is, what are they comparing you to? Okay? Most accountants accidentally allow this. Bookkeeper A is charging $300. We've got bookkeeper B, $500, and then there's a you, $1,500. Well, now you're dead, right? Wrong comparison. Instead, frame differently. Okay? Compare. $18,000 annually versus $100,000 in lost profitability, or $50,000 in excess taxes, or $250,000 in increase in business value. Now the comparison changes, and once the comparison changes, the decision changes. All right? Hey, lesson 8, write it down, the authority frame. So the authority frame, authority is not arrogance, it's just confidence. It's conviction, okay? The prospect wants leadership. Think about psychology. When a business owner has a tax issue, cash flow issue, growth issue, they already feel uncertain. If they encounter uncertainty from you, what happens is they trust you less. Authority comes from conviction, okay? Notice the difference. Watch this. Well, after hearing what you have to say, I think this might help. Well, that sucks, right? What's really good is, and you want to say this, and make sure you write it down. Hey, based on everything you've shown me, this is the path I'd recommend. It's the same recommendation. It's a different frame. The second positions you as the expert. And you are the expert, right? You spent the time getting those degrees. You've already done all this great, amazing things with your firm. You're already the expert. Talk like it. All right, lesson 9, the investment frame, okay? Look, the average accountant frames fees as expenses. Elite advisors frame fees as investments. The language matters, okay? Expense frame. Watch this. This costs $2,000 per month. Well, okay, listen to how that sounded. This costs $2,000 per month. Compared to this. Hey, I always like to think of random names here. Let's think of one. Hey, Joe, if this improves cash flow by $8,000 monthly and reduces taxes by another $15,000 annually, how would you view a $2,000 monthly investment? Right? Notice what happens. So the brain stopped evaluating cost and started evaluating return. This is how investors think, because owners are investors. You have to frame accordingly. All right, let's go to lesson 10. The identity frame. This is the deepest level of framing. This is the number one way to frame people. If you can frame their identity, and if you can discover their identity and frame them, and they'll gravitate towards the identity, they'll make decisions that identity would make. So that would incline them to buy, because they're moving how they perceive themselves. So that's why I say this is the deepest level of framing, because people make decisions consistent with who they believe they are, right? A business owner might say, I want growth, but what does their business, what does their identity say? I'm a small business. Well, the identity is going to win. Okay, can't grow if I think I'm small, right? Just how it works, always. Therefore, ask questions that evaluate identity. Some examples would be, hey, what would a $5 million firm owner do in this situation? Talk to me about that. What systems would a truly scalable company need? What does a business operating at that level require? Talk to me about that. Now they begin seeing themselves differently and behave, and what happens is behavior follows identity. Okay? The greatest salespeople in the world don't sell actions, they sell identities. Alright, let's go to lesson 11. Reframing objections in real time. Every objection is simply a frame asking to be replaced. Okay? It's expensive. Like, compared to what? Right? I need to think about it. What specifically needs to be thought through? Well, wait. Okay? Reframe. Oh, by the way, write that down. So when they say, well, wait, I went too fast there. I apologize. When they say, hey, we'll wait, I want you to reframe. What do you believe improves by waiting? We have a CPA already. What would you say you're getting the outcomes would you say you're getting the outcomes you ultimately want right now? Talk to me about that. Notice something. You're not fighting, you're not arguing, you're changing the frame. Okay? So they say something, I hit them back with a reframe. They say something, I hit them back with a reframe that advances the sale. Right? And it's not pushy. Just do it. It's common sense. Alright. I'll leave you with this. The hidden truth about sales framing. Most accounts believe sales is about presenting information, and it's not. Sales is controlling interpretation. Okay? The elite advisor understands something even deeper. The sale is won before the offer is ever presented. It's won when the problem is framed correctly, the cost is framed correctly, the future is framed correctly, the opportunity is framed correctly, the investment is framed correctly, okay? The prospect identity is framed correctly. Because once those frames are installed, the price becomes the easy part. And that's why two accounts can offer identical services at completely different prices and get completely different results. One sells bookkeeping, the other sells transformation. One sells compliance, the other sells business outcomes. One discusses numbers, the other changes how the client sees the entire business. And the accountant who controls the frame will almost always control the sale. So look, hopefully you like this video. I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe.